we have to make this differentiation?
The answer is no. We don't necessarily have to run separate fiber. That isn't the intent. But I do think the model that we started with was a very simple. We have a central point of presence, and from there it's direct. It's point-to-point connectivity to all sites. We're evolving away from that. For instance, CRIB, California Rural Indian Health Board, became CTM members last month. That means they are interconnecting all of their Indian health sites in the state of California. And beyond that, there's an interconnection agreement that's being done with IHS. So we will actually have access to Indian health sites throughout the Southwest. That wouldn't have happened 2 years ago because we just had this model that said everybody's got to have their own router, and they got to do they have to take a T1 circuit. So I guess my answer is we're looking at creative solutions, because in rural, you're right. When it's not there, the question is how do we get the capacity there, and what's the best way to architect it? What we worry about is we have applications coming down the pike that are like, think about things like robotics, things like that. They require the network to perform a certain way. And so as long as we can assure ourselves that the latency and those kinds of issues can be managed, we keep looking at it. But today, it's evolving from a point-to-point kind of network to a hub and spoke.
I'll talk to you later, because we've got traction up there with the medical community on an application that they think is a killer, but I don't know if it would fit.
Let's talk.
I'll check with you.
Yes, sir.
Eric, you mentioned a gateway to the educational network. Has there been discussion with any of your working groups of a gateway into the VA network?
Yes, we're actually in discussions with the VA because a lot of the VA populations,
In rural, right?
correct, and with the warriors coming home, and you all know probably better than I do in some of your communities, particularly the behavioral health needs, post-traumatic stress syndrome kinds of things, overwhelmed. They can't keep up with it at either the Department of Defense or VA facilities. They're looking to telehealth to be one of the solutions to fix that, or to address that. I won't say fix it. The issue is it's the federal government. So figuring out how to interconnect the networks, there's a desire to do it, let me say that. We just haven't figured out how to interconnect the networks, but I think you'll see it. We're also in discussions, I should mention, with Kaiser, Catholic Healthcare West, Adventist Health, a lot of the multiple site players that you all know, who themselves have, particularly Kaiser, is doing some coordinated efforts with the VA. So I think you'll see that. But what I want to be clear, our first priority was the pie chart you saw up there. The people who are in rural frontier counties or underserved areas of our urban centers, let's get them deployed first. We're actually working on getting additional funding to do other things that may fall a little bit outside of what the original scope of the subsidy was for. Okay, but we'd love to hear from folks, because one thing I want to be clear about, we're here to serve the need of the state of California. So I don't get up every day and say, gee, I like wireless, so let's go do wireless. No, I mean, Denise and I were in Needles earlier this week. I was in Modoc County about 3 weeks ago, up in Canby and Cedarville. And the reason we go is so that we don't lose touch with what do people really need. I don't want to build a Taj Mahal or something that's not going to be relevant. The VA is one. It's going to take us some time to get there because of the parties involved. So, yeah.
Eric, you may have inferred this before, but I want to be specific. It has to do with the definition of facilities. So if we have, let's say, a cluster of doctors, but not a care facility per se, or maybe even an individual doctor, would they potentially be eligible to hook up?
Is a doctor a for-profit doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but under the fair share agreement.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Potentially, though, they can make a connection.
Oh, they can make a connection. Yeah, they can, and we can serve we can serve anybody that we can get to. There's some that we got to do construction to get to, but most of the case that's not the case. It's just a matter of whether they get the membership rate that's lower or the fair share rate, because we can't apply the subsidies to somebody that's not eligible. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Do I introduce the illustrious Jim Delgado?
Thank you. So, as we did yesterday, we're doing a little bit of a flip on the agenda, and thank you, Jim, for agreeing. Oh, no, it's okay. And we're gonna do, we're gonna go to Peggy Lee from the Nonprofit Housing Association, but I'm gonna go to Raquel first so that she can say a few words.
So once again, there's for all of you from the regional consortia, there's information on the table out there that has the list for each of your areas on CTN sites, and more information if you need it from Denise or from Danielle. Yes, you can take it with you.
This one?
Right, exactly.
Yes. Don't be shy. Bio breaks all day long.
He lives on the coast of England, so I'm in North Carolina, Valley. I'm in State New York. So I'm much more. That's right. I'm just. Yeah, we would like to know a lot former supervisors, a lot of people don't know about it. They really Great. So if you hear from us, you know who we are.
They've already got my head
Really great. Thank you. We'll invite you down.
Hi, y'all. We have one more change in the program. So Peggy will be coming up in just a few minutes. Can you hear me in the back?
Yeah, but nobody else does.
Okay. Hi, we're going to come back together now. That was. We've got a little. So we're going to take a. Thank you for coming back with us for that from that organic break. We're going to change it up one more time. Peggy's going to come on in just about 3 to 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm switching over to Connie Stewart for a little bit of entertainment. That's been a tradition with the Rural Summit. So let me switch it over to Connie, and then we'll get back.
Hey everyone, sorry, I'm busting in here, but we have to, Susan Estrada and I are about to leave. And for those of you who this is your first CETF annual meeting, we have a tradition. And the tradition is we have a song at the meeting that is a sing-along for everyone. It's a broadband song. So you brought it up already. Okay. So everyone who watches American Idol knows that you never sing a Stevie Wonder song, right? They always get butchered, but we're going to do it here. We're going to butcher it here today. I can't believe this mic is stuck. Oh, okay. So the 2011, it's a nice short song here, to the theme of Ebony and Ivory. Can you handle it? Everybody know the song? Okay, so I'll start it off, and I can't sing, so everyone else who can't sing, join in, right? You ready? We need it bigger. And everyone needs to stand up, because we don't do this sitting down. You know, you got to diaphragms. Is that it? Uh-oh. Oh, no, the camera people are saying no, sit down. The camera people. Too bad. They don't want to sit down. Well, I don't. Oh. Okay, everybody. Come on.
Unplug the camera.
It doesn't work if you don't sing along, and all the rural people you know better than to not sing. Ready?
I can't see the words.
Okay. Can everyone see now?
No. There you go.
Oh, no, too far. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Rural and urban techies work together in perfect harmony, side by side to bring people broadband through the CPUC. We all know that broadband, know that people need broadband wherever they go, but it doesn't work for everyone. We learn to map, and we learn to get each other what we need to provide to close the digital divide. Sorry about that line. Broadband-friendly policy is a rural and urban priority. Side by side, let's dial up the volume and the economy. Side by side to bring people broadband through the CPUC. Not my bad. We're almost to a greatest hits. We only need 1 or 2 more years.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. And thank you, everyone. Tell her. We'll never learn to sing.
Oh yeah, everybody can, anyone can take over this tradition.
It won't be anything good.
Millions is this. The one with the Emmy nominated?
Wait, we got a call from Simon.
Don't ever sing Stevie Wonder again.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that. And now I'm handing it right back over to Raquel. Okay.
Hi, I'm Raquel Sinat, and I work at CETF in Los Angeles. This is my first time with all of you, so I'm very excited about this opportunity, about presenting to you the Smart Housing Initiative. This is very basic, very general, but at least we wanted to provide an orientation about our policy goals in smart housing and our partnership with NPH, the Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California. Today we have Peggy Lee. She's the acting executive director of MPH. We have been working in collaboration for about a year. And one of the things that we had to define is what is smart housing. A lot of people relate that to green strategies or green ideas. We define smart housing as a shared network in an affordable housing development that results in a cheaper connection to residents. It's not exactly what it says on the slide, but it's my translation of what it says on the slide. So that would be Darren putting together this slide. I think it was him. So our goal is for the state of California and local governments to really embrace and adopt smart housing policies. So the construction, the implementation of the work is actually allowed when the building is being developed, when the building is being built. It seems like a very simple policy goal, but it has been a little bit challenging when you are talking with affordable housing developers, even at that level, even though they really understand the fact that broadband is very important and it can change the resident's life, with more opportunities and access to resources. They really look at you and say, and on top of everything that I'm doing, you want me to do what? You want me to just bring broadband to our residents? And it's not that they don't really have the intention or the willingness to provide that. It's just that they have a lot on their plates, and their world, the world of housing, as you know, it has been a very challenging world, especially in the recent years. So we have been moving slowly but surely. And Peggy is going to share with us a little bit about the achievements to date and the next steps. And also, she's going to share about the latest development. MPH put together a toolkit for all affordable housing developers to provide resources on how to connect, how much it costs, where are the options. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything. What I like to do with this, I like you just to absorb at least the general idea of these goals and this smart housing idea. And if you haven't worked with smart housing projects, just to keep it in mind, it's a great ecosystem where you can have people that need to be trained and people that can have connectivity at home besides the public computer centers. So having said that, I want to introduce to you Peggy Lee. She's doing a great job acting as the executive director at MPH.
Thanks, Raquel. Oh, can you guys hear me? I want to, excuse me, I want to thank CETF for inviting me to speak to you all, and I want to thank you for your time. Honestly, I don't know how I'm going to top the singing, but I'll try. No singing, I promise. So I scanned the list of attendees here today, and what I noticed is that I don't think there are any housing folks in the room. So I just wanted to start by saying a little bit about who we are and sort of how we came to be partners with CETF. So the Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California is quite a mouthful to say. So we usually just refer to ourselves as NPH. And I know a lot of you in the Northern California counties will say, but you don't come up to where we are, and that's right. We're really the 9 Bay Area counties, and we are a membership organization, we're an advocacy organization, and we represent the affordable housing field of the Bay Area. And that ranges from, architects to local governments, to planners, to advocates, people who finance affordable housing, really the entire spectrum. But our core constituency are the developers, and particularly the nonprofit developers that develop affordable housing. So we are really, really fortunate in the Bay Area to have a very high capacity for affordable housing here. We have a lot of great developers, both regional and local in their communities, and I recognize that that's not true all over the state. So I do want to get that out of the way and say that, you know, it is different here, and to bring smart housing to your community is going to require something different depending on where you are and the capacities that you have on the ground. So one of the first things that we did when we got this invitation from CETF to look at bringing broadband to our low-income residents in affordable housing was we talked to our developers and we said, all right, do you guys do this already? Where do you do it? Where are your challenges? And one of the things that we expected to hear was that, you know, broadband, well, you know, it's great, but we have a lot of other things that we need to provide to our tenants. Meals, healthcare, you know, all the very basic necessities. But we didn't hear that at all, actually. We heard from our developers that they thought broadband was really, really important, and that in the buildings where they were able to deploy broadband, they really saw the difference in their tenants. They were able to do a lot of things like just get connected to their family members who may be outside the community. They were able to go online and check their health benefits. They were able to go online and do some rudimentary ESL classes. So that was really heartening to us that we didn't have to sell the idea of providing broadband. Where we heard the challenges is that the older buildings who don't have broadband wired, it's really hard to get funding so that they can get wired. And then secondly, the ongoing maintenance costs, not just the cost, but also support for the staff so that they know how to do maintenance, know how to help tenants get online. Though the ongoing costs and support were really where they were struggling. So because of that, we developed a two-prong approach. The first prong, as Raquel had mentioned, is the toolkit, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But the second prong is policies, and we wanted to develop a policy platform whereby we could get our developers to sign on, and then also bring it to the other regional housing organizations in the state, like the California Rural Housing Consortium, San Diego Housing Federation, and the Southern California Nonprofit Housing Association, so they could bring it to their members and have them sign on. We decided on this approach rather than to go directly to the state legislature because, as you all know, they're being pressured with a lot of other things right now. And if we were just you know, an advocacy organization, our one voice, it would be different than bringing their developers, their tenants, their constituents there to say, hey, this is just as important as a lot of these other things you have on your plate. So that is one of the strategies that we're pursuing right now. We've just recently brought this to our working groups, and we're getting ready to finalize it and bring it to the regional organizations. But we've had initial conversations with them, and they're very, very supportive. So the next steps will be to get as many developer members as we can to sign on to this so that we can elevate it to a state-level conversation with the legislature. So the second prong approach is the toolkit. And we really developed this toolkit because we talked to a lot of the frontline staff. And these are the property managers and the folks who provide services to our low-income tenants at the buildings. And, you know, a lot of them probably it wasn't in their job description to manage the computer room or help troubleshoot the network when it goes down when they started the job. And now all of a sudden it's become their job. And a lot of them have different IT skill sets. Some of them much more advanced, some of them, you know, really a little better than their tenants. And so we wanted to be able to create something that helped them right now at this moment figure out how to do all these things like keep the computers from breaking down or getting viruses and keep them secure, but also how to teach different tenant populations to get online and speak to them, how to use volunteers, how to get creative partnerships with other nonprofits and other and like local governments in their area. So I want to show you, let's see if I can do this toolkit that we've developed, and it's going to go online and live on the MPH website, but it's also going to be, let's see, downloadable as an HTML file so that people can download it and they don't have to get on the internet in order, but it's still going to look like this, which is basically a mini website. And we did this because we figured, you know, a lot of the times when they want to access it, it will be on their computers. But, and then also this gives a interactiveness to the toolkit that just having pieces of paper, you know, or like a traditional booklet would not achieve. So this is the home page, and it has a little welcome. And then on the left side, you'll see the pages where we expect it to be really, really popular for use. So we wanted to make sure that people could go to those pages right away, like a glossary, like best practices, tips for computer labs, because even in buildings where, you know, folks are providing broadband to units, a lot of them still are providing computer labs because it is a forum for folks to come together and learn. And then at the top, you'll see these are all the individual toolbars, and you can, you know, go from page to page. And then there's acknowledgements. And when over here, when you go to resources and downloads, it shows you how to download this entire toolkit so that you can access it from anywhere. Let's see. And another nice feature that we've built in right now is that if you go to any page and there's a term on it that appears in our glossary, it will be highlighted with a link, and you can click it, and it'll go right to the glossary where the entry is. So our toolkit is getting ready to launch. It's been a little while because we've had to juggle with our web designer and also our designer for the toolkit. But this is pretty much done, and we're getting to put it on our website in the next week, as soon as our web designer can find some time to do it. And we will, if you are interested at all in accessing it, please let me know. I'm sure you can find me through Raquel at CETF. You can also go online. We're at www.nonprofithousing.org. We're also hoping to see if the regional organizations would like to adopt this for their region. I think a lot of the information is pretty much usable throughout the state, but there will be some resources, et cetera, that will need to be tailored for each particular region. And then the last thing that we're hoping to do is to really make sure that this is a live document so that it keeps getting improved and updated as we go on. And the way we're trying to do this is NPH has two working groups. One is made up of folks who do property and asset management, and the other is made up of folks who do resident services. And they get together every month and they discuss issues and they figure out ways to advocate for their issues. And we try to elevate their voices. So we are in the process of handing off this toolkit to them so that they can go back, use it, they can promote it to their colleagues, and then bring back all the feedback so that we can continue to improve it or bring back new information. And in fact, on this website, we've also built in, we'll probably make it a little more prominent as we go on, but we've built in a contact us page where folks can email us with any questions and feedback. So that's my little smart housing presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions. Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
I was just wondering, since we have so many leaders here from so many regions, and then you're going through the process of getting people to support, to sign on to support the initiative, maybe some of the folks in the room that might have connections with developers in their areas in the state can also maybe facilitate if you can kind of have that dialogue of where you may need help or have strategic partners that you want to tap into. I think that's where this group can also be really helpful. So, you know, like, again, through Raquel or Gladys, we can make those connections.
Absolutely, that is a great suggestion. If any of you have relationships with your local developers and you think that this would be a great idea and you want to bring this tool back, please contact me. Contact Raquel, she'll link you to me. That's a great suggestion, thank you. I see this.
I'd like to also add, if I may, in 2002, I became a planning commissioner in the city of Placerville. Your planning commissioner, all your planning commissioners are key people in this process. I am proud to say that since I became a planning commissioner until I recently retired from that job after 8 years, 100% of projects that came before us with 3 or more dwelling units were required to put in either Cat6 cable or fiber optics from one central point to every entryway, just like they do with phone and electrical. So it's there when they're ready for it.
Thank you. Yes, this gentleman.
Have cities and counties adopted smart housing policies?
I believe there was an initial attempt to talk to cities and counties, and so far in the Bay Area at least, they've been very, very supportive. In terms of, I think though, the next step is to really ask them to dedicate some funding toward, you know, either retrofitting or ongoing operations, and that's the next step. They're in support of the policy and the platform, but each city is sort of at different places in terms of coming up with some funding for ongoing operations. I will say that the San Francisco Mayor's Office of, I think, Technology is very, very interesting. It's a very small department, but they control all the fiber. I guess the city owns a lot of fiber, and they've been able to use some of this fiber to provide free broadband for a lot of public use, and some of our affordable housing developers have been able to use that to their advantage. So, you know, your local government may have assets like that you can use. All right, thank you so much. Oh, I just pull it out? Thank you.
Well, we said if you want to build a house and maybe a granny flat, that's
Okay.
your private decision.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you for the presentation, and we can have our contact information available.
And the other commissioners just.
Okay, and then we were actually back on track. So now we're going to bring up Jim Dalgonis from Scenic for an update on Scenic, as well as the upstate and northeastern efforts there.
Are you ready?
My brain's full. Can I go home now?
Really? Yeah.
One of the best 2 days I think.
Okay, I better be timely since I am standing between you and lunch, right? Is that right? Do we get lunch or no? Have to hold it closer, talk into it like the singers do. So I want to share with you first just briefly a little bit about Scenic and who we are, because it kind of puts in context how we play into this broadband arena. And then talk about these 2 consortia applications projects that we're involved in. I have to say, as I get started, I was kind of taken yesterday by the focus on collaboration and the importance of collaboration. We went around the room when we were doing introductions. I said Scenic is interested and willing and interested, you know, working with all the different consortia, people that aren't in consortia, to try to help address the broadband underserved and unserved areas. And so I'm going to start with collaboration. I'm going to end with collaboration. We really mean it. John, Tom, and I, who are all here, have had most of our careers in higher education. And the one thing that we learned is you collaborate with anybody and everybody if you want to get things done. So feel free to follow up and talk to us after the session. So we are a nonprofit created to serve the educational community in California. We serve public institutions, we serve private institutions, our fees come from them. I don't think it's any secret to anybody that all these institutions are suffering from gigantic budget cuts. So, you know, we're very careful about giving them as much bang for the buck, and part of our involvement in broadband activities is to extend to our members cost-effective broadband, but also to help deliver cost-effective broadband out to communities, and I'll explain why that's important to us in a minute. So this is our backbone network. Eric, who I think has maybe walked out from the California Telemedicine Network, their strategy and ours is a little bit different. We own as much of our infrastructure as we can, and so this PowerPoint here shows our backbone fiber extending throughout the state, and actually it goes north from Corning, but we're not currently using it. So that's our backbone fiber. That's an owned infrastructure. Eric was also referring to a private network. I mean, this is absolutely a private network. We own it, we operate it for our members, but there's infrastructure that could be shared with others. The infrastructure we could share is this 2,900 miles of owned infrastructure. I also mentioned here that we have 300 leased telecom circuits. Generally, when we've leased circuits from the telecom companies, the Comcasts of the world and the AT&Ts of the world, and we beat them for good pricing because that's what our members want us to do, they're saying fine, but you can't use it for anybody else. So some of the criticism that we sometimes receive is, oh, you're out in all the counties. Same question that was asked to Eric, can it be used for other purposes? I wish it could, but many of our contracts don't allow it. One of the reasons that we like to participate with different communities in putting in new infrastructure is it relieves that bottleneck, and we can collaborate and we can lower costs for everybody. And I'll delve into a little bit, even on our backbone, how this could be very beneficial to regional activities. So, you know, why are we involved in broadband? I sometimes get asked in different venues why we're even involved in broadband. So we can't get broadband to all the schools in California today. And Terry Sanders, one of our colleagues from Imperial County Office of Ed, one of the things that we're working on currently are a list of what are called hardship sites, sites that you can't reach, K-12 schools that you can't reach, one of which is, you know, I couldn't even believe this in Sonoma County. It just goes to show you I don't understand Sonoma County that well, but there is a school in Sonoma County, they can't get a T1. So we still have problems reaching all the schools, and this is just directly on our agenda to solve that problem. Other problem we have is even where we have good connectivity to schools and colleges and universities, increasingly we're finding people working from home, studying from home and working from home, and they come to us or they come to our members and say, well, you know, it's great when I'm at Cal State Chico, you know, everything is fine. And when I go home and I try to, you know, work in the weekends, it's horrible. So, you know, we get a lot of pressure to help solve the general problem in communities on behalf of our members. One of the other things that we get involved in is advocacy, and the CTN and the funding in the CTN is a great example. Happens to be a little bit of a thorn in my side, honestly, because the way that program was set up, and this is no reflection on California and Eric and his crew that were given a FCC program to work within, but the FCC program really wasn't set up to encourage the sharing of demand across telemedicine and other uses. Somebody asked that question of Eric, can we connect everybody? He's, well, we don't really monitor it. But the program wasn't really set up for that. It was set up, just to be narrow for telemedicine. I've gone to the FCC and said, this is stupid. This is really dumb. You've got this broadband plan and other activities going on. You're trying to encourage broadband, and then you're putting out programs that are stovepiped. And that's just not the way we're going to get broadband into unserved and underserved areas. So we get involved in some advocacy. And then anchor tenancy, and we were talking about demand aggregation. So one of the ways that California is going to deal with the problem of underserved and unserved and the kinds of things that this discussion is going to help us do is get people working together. So we're not putting in infrastructure for one person or another function. So we're one of the what are sometimes called anchor tenants. What are some of the, every community has a blank, and public safety is one of those, and generally there's some healthcare, and generally education is one. So we can participate in all the projects and be one of the anchor tenants on delivering new broadband infrastructure in areas that don't exist. So, I just a little quickie here on my view of, why do we have the problem and what are we going to do to solve the problem? Well, the telcos, if they had a way of making money on serving the underserved areas, they would have done it. So they haven't done it because there's not enough demand, or it's too expensive to build, or it's too expensive to connect to the national internet, which Eric was referring to is the public internet, and the result is unserved or underserved areas. One of the reasons I mentioned the too expensive to connect to the national internet was he called it the public internet. If you're a local, let's say a wireless provider in a rural community, one of your biggest problems is getting to LA or Sacramento or Sunnyvale so you connect to the public internet. Because it's great to provide wireless in your community, but your customers want to get out to sites outside your community. And the cost of doing that is expensive, sometimes referred to as backhaul, and or the rates that a small carrier gets for using the commercial internet is a lot greater than if you're aggregating demand with other kinds of folks. So these are some of the reasons, in my view, that we end up where we are today. And I think all of this group and others working together can help address these issues, bring down these barriers, and address the unserved and underserved areas of the state. I mentioned here that the federal programs haven't changed the equation. For folks that are closer to telecom, some of the regulations, the FCC's had high cost funds that were intended to do this and other kinds of things. Let's just say that they haven't solved the problem, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. So, what could CNIC do, and how could CNIC help? I mentioned the anchor tenancy, the demand aggregation is really important. But we could also provide reasonably priced backhaul where it's our infrastructure, again, where it's AT&T infrastructure or Comcast. They don't let me do it. I wish we could. But we will provide, cost-effective backhaul. You saw where we had our fiber network down the Central Valley or down the coast to the metropolitan areas where the public internet is. And that relieves for some of the smaller communities, from smaller telcos, startups, and others, some cost. And the other thing that we could do that I think I have on another slide is help leverage our buying power with other people's buying power. We get pretty attractively priced connection to the public internet because we have essentially 10 million users a day on our network, faculty and staff and students, and that's a lot of traffic. That's really a lot of traffic. So we get pretty good pricing. We try to extend that pricing where we can to this traffic that we'll provide on our network, the backhaul traffic that I was talking about. generally, we're able to extend that pricing. So that provides a beneficial pricing and kind of a lower cost hurdle that a new telco or even a new existing telco has when they're considering serving the community. So one of the projects that we're involved in, and I would love to see a bunch of these duplicated around the state as a result of these activities, we'll have to see, is our Central Valley. This was one of these funded with ARA broadband funding. And I should say, as I start here, that we were an applicant in round one to do northern counties, and we didn't get funded, and we partnered with a telco. That didn't get funded. In the second round, we did the Central Valley, and you can see the green shaded area are the 18 counties that we were funded. We're working in a public-private partnership. If you go back to our early slide, you know, I said that scenic focus on education. We could share infrastructure, but you know, we're not really very good at providing internet to homes and businesses and billing and all that kind of thing. So we need to partner with folks. And in the case in Mitch Drake here is from one of Sebastian Communications, Telecommunications, which is one of the 8 partners in the CVIN private company that we partnered with to provide broadband into these 18 counties. So we're serving, you know, a range of entities. You probably can't find anybody that we're not intending to serve when, you know, we're saying governments, public service, public safety entities, healthcare, libraries, educational, local business, and so on. I mean, the intent is to serve everybody. I will kind of skip through some of these, but basically this project involves construction of new fiber and the use of some of Scenic's existing fiber supplemented by wireless. So our private sector partners are going to use wireless in areas where it's effective, cost effective to do that, and they get more for kind of last mile, reaching out to homes and businesses into the smaller communities. There was a lot of discussion on wireless yesterday, and one of the things I thought somebody was going to ask is, why are we even bothering with fiber anymore? Sometimes I get asked that question. Guess what? All these wireless networks feed into fiber networks, and so you do need the fiber infrastructure as well going into communities. So we have we've provided some fiber. We're building some new fiber, and there's new wireless being put in as well. The other that I'll mention, I don't know if Susan's still in here. Susan said, "Oh, you know, I was talking to some people in southern Fresno, and the fiber's not going through there, and so they're wondering if they're really going to get any benefit." Well, and this is fiber going into a community, kind of middle mile fiber, but these commercial companies are going to be looking to extend that out as well. So the fact that a community today isn't on the backbone doesn't mean that there's not going to be motivation and benefit from the fiber that's being installed now, because they'll make some lateral extensions off that. So I'm going to kind of skip through this in the interest of time. I mentioned fiber construction, use of scenic fiber, and then the thing that I mentioned earlier, access to the national, here I'm calling them Tier 1 networks. These are the public internet. So we're providing, as an incentive for this project, we're able to extend our low-cost access to the public internet to the private telecom companies that are going to be using our infrastructure to reach LA and Sunnyvale or Sacramento to get connected to these Tier 1s. So that's how this project kind of came together. And I think it's a model that, you know, we'd certainly be willing and more than interested in talking to anybody else in the state about duplicating or some variant of it somewhere else. So let me turn then to these just awarded consortia grant projects that we're we're really excited about, and we're excited to be working with our colleagues from Cal State Chico on the projects. Kathy spoke yesterday, and Don introduced himself as well. What we're hoping to do is develop plans for the counties that we're involved in, where these projects were funded, where we deal with kind of a cohesive, comprehensive infrastructure, getting into each county, but also how do you distribute within each county, and hope that we could identify a plan and route that, the communities that are involved believe would make sense. And then, obviously you have to kind of go from there. There's two different projects. The one, what we call UCC, involving these 4 counties, and the other one involving these 7 counties. So, I mentioned collaboration earlier, strong community involvement. I didn't mention that in our Central Valley CVIN project, but there was very strong community involvement and support in the planning of that project, and I would expect that we will exceed the level of involvement we had on that project. And that project, we were really time constrained because the notice of funding came out, and we had to get an application together in a very short time period. And so Tom West, who works for us on these activities, was out in as many communities, talking to as many people as he could, along with CVIN, but we didn't get to everybody. We think we could do a broader job of community involvement and consultation. Right. So Tom was saying we did get 14 letters of support from 14 supervisors. So we did meet with as many people, as we could. So as I say, what we're, intending to do here is work with communities, develop a infrastructure plan, and also plans for using the infrastructure. We've had some discussion about the importance of adoption and training plans. I was taken by the first presentation we had this morning about the activities in LA, and just exposing people to, instead of talking about broadband and the internet, exposing them to what this could do for you, and providing some training. We certainly want to identify adoption steps that could take place as well. And then, we're, again, a big believer in working together. So working with the other consortia is pretty important. I think we have to make sure, and I heard Angel say she's going to work hard to make sure the consortia are talking to one another, and there's an annual summit and all that kind of thing. We very much endorse that and want to participate in those. We don't want to have stovepipes where, somebody's like this bridge and there's no way to connect the bridge or whatever. We need to make sure these things all connect, and we give as much value to the state and the citizens as we can. So in the interest of time, you'll see these things on the website. But if you are interested in helping us on these 2 projects, if you're interested in becoming engaged in other of the projects, get in touch with Tom or me. I didn't put John's contact down here. I should have, but we could include that as well. Let us know. We have as a goal serving our members, but our members' needs extend out into the community, and we very much believe in working together and leveraging resources and infrastructure we have, and putting in new infrastructure without barriers against sharing and that sort of thing. So feel free to get in touch with any of us. We're pretty accessible. Let me stop there.
I think MCOE is too.
Question.
Jim, you have you have a tremendous amount of clout in California with this network. I'm wondering if there isn't a way for you and CVNC to use some of that clout to develop sources of funding through resources you've already talked to create more demand. By that I mean we out here in the rural areas need help figuring out ways to getting connected to you is a pro forma process. That's not a problem. But getting the demand, building the demand amongst the community, making sure that people are educated and so on, it's hard for us to get the capital to do that. I'm wondering if you can take a leadership role there and be the central point where communities like El Dorado County can come to you and use some of that funding to start creating demand for use of this network.
So I think there's a real need to do that, and I think we could look for funding sources to do that. The other thing that we have access to, as kind of looking at Don here, sometimes graduate students and faculty members that could help on some of these kinds of studies. So let us take that as a to-do and see what we could do. I mean, we don't have any money to put into it either. But that isn't to say there's not money out there. My sense is there are little pots of money here and there, and one of the things that I hope that we could do across the consortia is look at how we could go after some of these dollars. I was really taken by the discussion of the USDA and how badly, in a way, California gets treated, and it sounds like there may be some opportunities to get some additional dollars in the planning, but also in the execution side, and so we're definitely interested in participating in those discussions.
Let me add to this that one of the things that you have that we're still struggling to create is the credibility. You got a track record. Most of us are starting off from ground zero, and that makes it very difficult for us to leap that gap to get the funding. And if you're being the credible intermediary for that, it would really help those out in the rural areas.
Okay, good suggestion. I am now between you and lunch.
Thank you. Let's see. So now we have lunch. Lunch is available outside in the hallway, and it will be a working lunch, as you can see from your agendas. If you could cluster around your fellow regional lead, I can't speak anymore. If you would cluster together with your regional consortia brethren and do the questions on the agenda, that would be great. Another piece of housekeeping is to please hand in your worksheet from the folder to any CETF staff member that you see, and we have an hour. Do we have an hour? Is it an hour? Sorry. An hour for lunch. So you have that time to sit, eat, and discuss the questions. And as in the last set of small groups, this is going to be a long afternoon. Last set of small groups, please have someone facilitate, take notes, and report out at the end of the lunch period. So I think we'll do the same. We'll take about the last 15 minutes or so of the lunch period to do the report out. And if you could actually do it on an iPad or a laptop so that it's easily emailed to us, we should have made that suggestion the first time around. That would be great. Was there something else? Yeah. Jennifer is outside at the lunch line to collect the questionnaires on leadership from your packets. So if you could have them ready just to hand over, that would be great. That's your lunch ticket, I'm being told. Oh.
I've got that.
It is, what are the top 3 deliverables for focus of the research as determined by your delegation?
Okay. So just keep working on it and we'll collect it after lunch.